Hey guys, another one of my voiceover videos. I wanted to do this again 2 times, and I really wanted to iterate how strong I think this composition actually is. This was a really crazy game. I actually managed to get up to 6 hunters at round 11 or round 10. We'll have to go through the video and check. I only played this about half an hour ago, but the old brain doesn't really store information that long. I'm going to start from round 1 this time round. I want to talk a little bit about some of the decision-making processes I made with regards to economy versus keeping certain units. So you saw that I locked a double Skybreaker and also kept the God of War over rounds 1 and 2. That was because they are all S tier units, and I always think to myself, I need to act as if I would be thinking about what I would take on the next round. So I have 2 gold to spend on round 2. If I took Skybreaker and saw another Skybreaker and a God of War, would I take that over anything else? And what would be better? Well, maybe would be better is Skybreaker plus a Soulbreaker, or 2 Skybreakers. But actually, 2 Skybreakers and a God of War is pretty up there in terms of what I could get. And then compared to what I could have got, I would rather take the safer lock. So you can see here that I ended up getting a 2-star God of War, which is a great start, plus a Wind Ranger, which works really well with gods, and then also obviously keeping my Skybreaker on there. I also have 2 Excoundrel Rangers picked up. This is obviously telling me that Hunters is something that I should be looking at. If you get a Wind Ranger plus a God of War frontline and then the Excoundrel Rangers early on, you should probably be thinking about Hunters in your build at some point in the future. So what I do is I'm going to go here, you can see, to level 4. Now I can sell off something and go to level 5 here. This is this is what I would consider an on-curve level 5 at round 5. So when I talk about on-curve, what it means is that you spend experience to get exactly to the next level. No experience or gold wasted in that transition from one level to the next. So those thresholds are generally when you have multiples of 4 to get to the next level. That's what leveling on curve means. And the first place that you can level on curve to level 5 is at round 5. The first place that you can level on curve to level 6 is at round 9, and the first place that you can level on curve to level 7 is round 13, unless you want to spend extra gold and go to level 7 at like round 9, but that would like cost a lot of gold and not, and so people like to build economy. So what I've done here is I've obviously spent a lot of gold just trying to fill up my board with things that I could possibly use. I'm keeping Shining Dragon and Winter Carop Terran around because I know that they could be important in the future. What I've done here is I've actually sold off the Swordsman and brought an Argali Knight on. The reason I brought Argali Knight on is because Argali Knight is generally a very good standalone unit, even outside of Knights. His true damage heal is insane in the early game. That's 200 damage, in like pure damage, in an AoE area, and it heals someone, the lowest HP target that you've got on your side of the field. Like, so if you have an Argali Knight and you just want to fill a slot in your comp, 100% Argali Knight should be the play. So you can see here I actually managed to pick up the Dwarf Sniper, which gives me 3 hunters with a tanking line of God of War and Argali Knight. That's a really strong tanking line. What you might have also just missed is I sold off the Winter Carop Terran and the rest of those units that were on my bench, because that allowed me to hit 10 gold with the winning gold that I got from the last round. So that allowed me to hit a certain gold threshold. This is now going to start to snowball my economy. This is why I made that play. I'm keeping the goblins around just because, like, a 2-star Skybreaker is always going to be good. A 2-star Soulbreaker is always going to be good. You don't have to play them in goblins alone. They can generally form a pretty solid part of your composition. I also leveled up to the level 6 on round 9. As I said, that is a level up on curve and is absolutely necessary. So you can see here I'm actually beating most people because Hunters early game are super broken. What would be even better than this is if I was running Umbra, and you can see here, look at this round. This is the round where I'm like, okay, now it's time to sell off pretty much all of my units. I now have 5 out of 6 hunters, so it must be the next round that I get the 6 hunters. But just after round 10, we get 6 hunters because we now have Siren, which is the 2nd highest cost hunter, plus Umbra, and we only need Shining Archer, what's it called? Shining Archer? Yeah, Shining Archer, to get ourselves 6 hunters, and you can see here. So what I've actually done is I'm gonna sell off Argali Knight and put 6 hunters on the board. 6 hunters gives you a plus 80 flat damage to all of your hunters. So even if they are level 1, watch the damage that I'm actually going to do with my basic attacks, even if I don't have a tank. watch the damage that I'm doing with my basic attacks. It's absolutely ridiculous getting 6 hunters this early on. Now I'm going to do something a little bit unorthodox here. I'm going to actually level up off curve. There is a reason that I'm doing this. I'm leveling up off curve here, so I'm actually wasting a little bit of gold, because I think that to really cement how strong this comp is, just need to put God of War on. It gives me a little bit of a front line and allows me to get some security when playing with my 6 hunters, so I actually have a little bit of a front line that helps out. Now obviously the only thing that I'm weak to right now is a mage comp, because I've got lots of low HP targets. If someone's got a Tutorial Elder, they'll wipe out my entire lineup. If I had like a level 2 Siren or a level 2 Dwarf Sniper, I probably would end up being okay. But unfortunately, I'm in a pretty weak spot. Against mages, I beat probably every other composition right now, but mages I'm going to struggle against. You can see here, even versus assassins, we're doing fine. This guy had a pretty solid set of assassins, but 6 hunters just steals so much damage, especially with the Agursis buff early on. It's actually ridiculous. So I definitely think this is one of the stronger comps out there. And you can see just within 2 turns, we're up to 40 gold, and we are almost making our way up to 50 gold again, getting up to round 15. So we went to level 7 early, just to make sure that I absolutely had, I guaranteed myself like a strong sort of build up to round 15, and now we're going to hit 50 gold at round 15. We're going to have a +3 win streak going into the neutral round, which guarantees us 3 extra free gold. This is what I don't know if you hear me talk about this in my previous videos, but protecting win streaks into neutral rounds, if you can beat those neutral rounds, is basically free gold. Now I had a couple of rolls here because I thought maybe just searching for some upgrades would be fine, because I'm not going to be leveling up to 8 just yet, and over the next few rounds I'm going to be looking to try and 2-star some of the more important units on my lineup. Some of those important units are Dwarf Sniper, absolutely needs to be 2-star. Siren definitely helps because she generates her mana really nicely then. And then obviously Umbra. Umbra actually is a tank hunter. She has a very slow attack speed for a hunter. She's got an attack speed of 1.5. Her ability is about generating more HP. Now unfortunately she does become slightly weaker to mages when she transforms. The reason that she becomes slightly weaker to mages when she transforms is because she basically shares HP with her familiars that she summons, but she's a tank hunter for the most part. She's there to be like a pseudo frontline. So I said I was weak against mages? Yeah, this is it. This is me being weak against mages. There's nothing much I can do in this situation. I was very close to beating him, but unfortunately the Tutorial Elder just did too much damage. I will not be good against mages until I find Tsunami Stalker, which requires me to be level 8. So that's why I made the decision then to start leveling up to level 8, because I think I beat everybody anyway at this point in time. Having 6 hunters this early on is great, but I need to give myself some security in the late game. There is another person, Datadas, playing hunters in this game, which means I am competing for units. So I'm competing for my Agursis Rangers, I'm competing for my Dwarf Snipers, I'm competing for my Sirens, etc, etc. So I need to basically balance rolling for the units so they don't get taken away from me with leveling up at the same time. Going to level 9 would give me the best chance of finding Tsunami Stalker. It would also open up a couple of options for 4 Agursis as well, because at some point I'm going to want to fit in Soul Reaper and Evil Knight to give myself the 4 Agursis bonus. And if I don't want to get rid of God of War, I really need to be level 9 to do that. And I don't really want to get rid of God of War because I have 5 of them. And actually a God of War 3 is just a really solid frontline against a lot of physical damaged compositions, especially things like Glacier Knights. If you put your God of War 3 in front of a Hell Knight, he's just going to sit there tanking the Hell Knight forever, which is great. It give you time to respond and get on with things. So you can see, again, mages seem to be my kryptonite right now. That is definitely the case. I'm not including a Storm Shaman this time round because the Storm Shaman position has been occupied by my God of War. And now I'm just basically putting levels into experience into levels, because I want to get to level 9. Level 9 gives me the best shot of getting Tsunami Stalker. Level 9 gives me more space to work with getting the 4 Agursis online. Remember, you saw in my last video that 4 Agursis, 6 Hunters was really strong. Now I'm just kind of showing you different ways to build it. I definitely think it's one of the more adaptable and one of the strongest compositions on this current update if you can play it correctly. So now you can just see a combined Frantic Mask. Talking about itemization now. Frantic Mask is a very, very important item for Dwarf Sniper because it's going to allow him to sustain throughout the fights, especially versus mages where he may take a little bit of damage in the backline. He needs to get that Frantic Mask to have his attack speed boosted and also have the ability to sustain in these fights. So that's why it's important to get a Frantic Mask for Dwarf Sniper. It also increases his DPS. Going to level 9 right now, and at this point, it's all about rolling. Because actually, even though I am level 9, I have a weak composition. I have space for 2 more Agursis, so I can find Soul Reaper and Evil Knight, and I can fit that in if I take off one of my God of Wars. But overall, you can see versus the other Hunter player, Dadadas, I'm actually much weaker because I just don't have the level 2s yet. I don't have the 2 stars. So right now I'm level 9. It's not about going to level 10. It's about rolling as much as I can. And you can see I've just ended up finding the 4 Agursis. That is going to buy me a bit extra time for rolling. Finding 4 Agursis is going to increase my DPS output, especially with 6 Hunters and the flat damage. Still weak to mages, by the way, but the 4 Agursis is definitely going to help me just a little bit, and I didn't lose too hard there. So, a couple of things to talk about when itemization. You generally want to stack all of your big damage items onto your Dwarf Sniper. But because of how easy it is to get a halberd now, the one that disarms the unit with the highest, I think it's the highest flat damage, because it's so easy to get, you may want to consider splitting some of your damage items across your Agursis Ranger and your Dwarf Sniper. That's going to allow you to have a backup DPS, especially if you can get your Agursis Ranger to 3-star. That's going to allow you to have a backup DPS when your Dwarf Sniper inevitably gets locked down. And you can see I am actually working towards a 3-star Agursis Ranger because that is important. And you can see here I'm going to roll down to 40 just to see what I can find. And very importantly, I end up finding the 2-star Dwarf Sniper. Even though this was on a neutral round, it doesn't matter. The main thing for me is managing my time to make sure I increase the DPS and increase the number of 2-star units that I have on my field. So I'm just looking for a 2-star Soul Reaper, and I'm looking for a 2-star Siren as well. I need to start clearing bench space right now. I'm going for too many 3-stars. I'm trying to 3-star my God of War, my Umbra, my Agursis Ranger, my Dwarf Sniper, and that's 5 3-stars that I'm trying to build on my bench. That's not... I need to basically buy some space. I need to buy some space. So back towards itemization, couple of defensive items can go on your God of War, of course. Then you want to put some defensive items on your, you want to put some, I like to put dodge on Umbra, but you want to put some defensive items on your Umbra. You can see here what I'm doing is rolling extensively. I rolled pretty far down. The reason I made that play is because I needed to free up bench space. I found some pretty crucial units in the first roll, and that meant that I was going to have to sell them if I couldn't free up some bench space in the future. And you can see it's actually just by having that God of War 3 now on my front line, I've become a little bit stronger. My front line has become a bit more tenable. I've also got a 2-star Evil Knight, which makes him a pretty strong, make him a pretty strong frontline, and I've ended up picking up an egg as well. Now that egg can be used for multiple things here. I would ideally like to use it on my Dwarf Sniper, but obviously that's not always going to be the case. I could use it on Umbra, which would be my second choice, or I could use it on Agursis Ranger, which should be my last choice. Agursis Ranger is one of the easier ones to 3-star, so I'd rather not have to waste a 5 cost on my Agursis Ranger, although now I'm at level 9, it's probably much easier for me to find an Umbra than it is an Agursis Ranger, but a 3-star Umbra is going to give me more of a front line, which is why I want to try and focus on getting that Umbra. So, itemization again, little talk, I'm going once more. Mana generation goes onto Siren. Some defensive items, if you get any armor or any magic resist, you can split between magic resist. I think magic resist is better placed on Dwarf Sniper. Armor can go on your God of War. Most damage items, your big ones, should go onto Dwarf Sniper. You can split a bit of damage between your Agursis Ranger and your Dwarf Sniper if you're worried about halberds disarming you and putting all of your damage out. And then I like to put some attack speed, but also some dodge onto my Umbra. Umbra is a big tank unit in the front line, and if you can give her some dodge, it makes her really beefy and also allows her to put out a bit more damage versus some compositions. It's really, really good against Glacier Knight to have some dodge on Umbra, just because she becomes a very big pain to deal with. So this is the Glacier Knight player. He's pretty strong. Unfortunately, I'm spreading out because of the mages, but that's also going to leave me susceptible to getting picked off by people like the Glacier Knight player. There is another thing that I need to think about right now as well. I also need to think about going to level... I also need to think about going to level 10. The reason I need to think about going to level 10 is because I'd like to add a warlock into this composition to give myself a warlock bonus, which will allow me to add some sustain. You can see I ended up using the egg on the Umbra because I had no bench space to work with, and getting 3-star Umbra is definitely going to help me out a little bit. The other thing that you saw me do was sell off Shining Archer to sub in my Tsunami Stalker. This is a really, really big move for me because this is now going to give me both the Marine bonus, but also give me an extra layer of CC, and especially team-wide CC, which is really important. Positioning, this is very much experimentation. I wish I could tell you that I had a complete science to what I'm doing right now, but what I'm trying to do is essentially split up my composition enough so that I don't get wiped out by, for instance, a 1 Tortola Elder. I'm trying to bring some important units that are vulnerable a little bit further back. So like you might wonder why my Tsunami Stalker is not on the front line or is like not out by himself. He will die very quickly to a lot of the compositions that are left in this game. So I bring him back ever so slightly so that he doesn't get hit immediately. He then joins the fight so that he's not being focused, and he should be able to get his ultimate off like that. That's why you position your Tsunami Stalker a little bit further back when he's only level 1. When he's level 1, he's very, very likely with just 900 HP to get absolutely bopped at the start of a fight. So I usually put him behind my God of War because that allows him to move round my God of War, join the fight, and not be 100% focused from the outset. That's why I position him there. I put my Siren on the front line at level 2 because I want her to generate mana as quickly as possible. And I obviously put my Umbra on the front line because Umbra is a hunter tank, basically one of your tanks in your hunter compositions. And I've given her some dodge, which is important. So you can see here, I'm looking at what I can build. I end up giving my Mjolnir over to my Dwarf Sniper, even though he's level 2, he's got enough damage to make that worth it. And I end up going to level 10 as well. So that's going to now allow me to find somewhere to put my my Warlock on. And you can see I'm actually getting beaten by a lot of people right now, and I think without a Warlock, that's probably going to remain to be the case. I end up finding a Gersis Ranger, which is fantastic. I lock this because I don't think I'm going to win. I'm kind of losing to everybody right now. So I end up locking that Gersis Ranger, but what you'll find is that I actually made a mistake. I ended up winning, and then tried to unlock at the very last moment, but unfortunately that wasn't the case. The reason that I'm losing to Dadidas, by the way, is because he has a refresher on Siren, which is meaning that he's just getting his Siren off much more quickly. I find a lot of really big upgrades here. I'm going to get the Halberd onto my... I'm going to get the Halberd onto my Umbra, and actually something that is important to note is that I have also now got a Dragonbone Ballista on my Dwarf Sniper, which is going to you just look at the damage this guy pumps out. Absolutely ridiculous. Level 2 Dwarf Sniper putting out 11,000 DPS in these fights. Like, this is how important Dwarf Sniper is to these compositions. So what I end up finding is Dark Spirit. I know at this point in time that I'm never going to get a 3-star Dwarf Sniper, so I don't mind selling him off to make sure that my Dark Spirit is there. Now, I put Dark Spirit in the corner, hoping that he won't get immediately destroyed in a fight, but unfortunately he does. However, my Siren does go off here. That does allow me to chain that into the... It does allow me to chain that into the Tsunami Stalker ultimate, and I actually knock out Dadidas as well. So that's fantastic. Getting that Warlock bonus in helped massively to help me beat my Hunter opponent. He drops enough to give me a refresher for my Siren, and what I do is I change my positioning up ever so slightly. I essentially am now in a spot where I can go back to being in the corner. The reason I can go back to being in the corner is because I'm versus Glacier Knights. I don't really have to split for Glacier Knights because the Lightblade Knight bounces don't actually have a range. They literally just bounce from wherever your units are on the field. And I find some pretty important power-ups here. I find the thing that builds out of Frantic Mass now, the Infused Mass, I think it is. And you can see I'm just trying to get the Hell Knight stuck on my God of War. Unfortunately, he gets really good Night Shield RNG here, and I can't quite manage to get my Siren ultimate off. But luckily, on his board, he didn't get quite good Night Shield RNG, and we end up winning the game. I just want to be clear, this build just be a almost fully 3-star Glacier Knight build, battled out gods, mages, and also other mage compositions, and we didn't even have we only had Umbra and a Gersis Ranger as 3 stars, as well as God of War, and God of War isn't that useful versus mages. We didn't even have 3-star Dwarf Sniper in this comp. Honestly, 6 Hunters for a Gersis is very adaptable with what you want to do with your front line, and it's a really powerful build right now. Really powerful. I think maybe one of the best in the game.